Welcome back. Fiji will not measure its success in trade and business opportunities by the number of empty and ineffective trade agreements we sign. We must measure this by the quality of such agreements which drive growth and development in the country. These were the words of the Attorney General Ayad Said Qayyum whilst opening the Pacific Island Business Conference in Nadi yesterday.
Any regional economic integration effort, be it a wide-ranging agreement covering goods and services, including movement of labor, or be it a simple trade in goods only agreement, must benefit the weakest party in the agreement the most. An agreement where an already economically mighty partner gains more than those still trying or striving to develop the economy, defies not only logic, but is also contrary to the objectives and principles of the WTO and the multilateral trading system that strives to encourage free and fair trade as a tool to alleviate poverty. I alluded earlier on to the implementation of agreements as giving value to the paper on which the agreements are signed. Let me now be more specific in this regard. We have a number of key regional and sub-regional trade agreements within the region that are relevant to the audience here today. Chief amongst which are the Pacific Islands Countries Trade Agreement, or PICTA, and the Melanesian Spearhead Group Trade Agreement. PG is of the view that the focus should be on proper implementation of these agreements first, before looking to expand them to other areas, and certainly before negotiating with partners much more advanced than ourselves.
With regards to PESA Plus, the Forum Island Nations liberalized trade agreement with Australia and New Zealand, Mr. Said Qayyum says Fiji certainly cannot accept that it will be asked to accede or to join negotiation at an advanced stage without having a say on all aspects of the agreement. Fiji has been left out of PESA Plus talks since its suspension from the Pacific Islands Forum. The Fijian government has always cautioned the Forum Island countries to consider their position in the PESA Plus framework.
PG is an advocate of the stepping stone approach and the notion that charity begins at home. As such, PG will continue to advocate the proper implementation of existing regional and sub-regional agreements to gain benefits from these, rather than focusing on negotiating new agreements with perhaps dubious benefits. We look forward to working with the business community to ensure that any further work we do on regional integration is guided by our needs, as well as the needs of the consumers and the wider citizenry of Fiji, so that whatever arrangements we put in place serve to build a better Fiji for all. I see from the program that your concluding session is how businesses can guide governments on the journey to regional economic integration. I trust that during your deliberations leading up to the concluding session, you will not be looking only at how government can take into account your needs, but also examine how you are contributing to sustainable economic growth by undertaking the steps necessary to benefit from what is already in place.
The Attorney General said there is a need for the various services sector associations and bodies to engage with government to level detail the requirements to reach negotiating positions that are technically sound and beneficial to that sector and to the country as a whole.
It is not sufficient to say that you want deregulation or the opening up of a services sector in the country. You need to be able to work with our services experts to work out how to frame the request to any government. Whether for services or for goods, government needs to partner our private sector actors in these negotiations in order to take a holistic approach, examining which markets are attracting sufficient quantum of interest from the business community.
The conference was organized by the Australia Pacific Islands Business Council along with the Australia Fiji Business Council and aims to give regional representatives the opportunity to speak to each other about the challenges and opportunities they face in their line of their work. Primary schools can now breathe a sigh of relief after receiving development grants from the Education Ministry. Close to $0.5 million was paid out to 5 education districts. Another 42 primary schools will soon receive $15,000 each. And the Ministry of Education also handed out food vouchers for children from needy families. Meanwhile, 15 special education schools have signed a memorandum of agreement with the ministry. 9 special education schools out of the 15 have received their grants from the ministry. Salary grants for early childhood education ECE centers in the 9th district have signed the MOA with the Ministry of Education have been released. A total of $184,568 was paid out to the different ECE centers, and about 7,000 application forms for food vouchers are being printed by the Ministry of Education to be sent out to district education offices for disbursement to respective schools. Schools that will benefit from the food voucher assistance have already been identified. These are schools in the very remote areas. Parents and guardians whose combined salary is $5,000 or less will benefit from the food voucher program. The distribution of food voucher will begin once forms are filled and returned. A total of $132,000 will be spent on the food voucher program. Fiji is expanding its horizons by looking to deepen relations with other partners and to create business opportunities even outside of formal integration trade agreements. Speaking at the Pacific Business Forum in Nadi yesterday, the Dean for the Faculty of Business and Economics at the University of the South Pacific, Professor Biman Prasad, said economic integration can provide the country with good opportunities for business in the future.
The final point I would like to make is, I think there's been a lot of emphasis on regional and economic integration. And in my view, that's a good focus. But integration is not going to be a panacea for all our economic ills. There will have to be other issues. And I think the Pacific Plan, which I showed earlier, have all those other issues that need to go together for us to understand regional and economic integration and use integration as a way forward for development in the Pacific.
Over the years, the Pacific Islands Forum Secretariat has been one of the regional organizations playing a vital role in promoting regional integration. PIF has developed a key document, the Pacific Plan, which is instrumental in strengthening regional cooperation and integration and was adopted by leaders in 2005.
As you've probably heard this morning, it's complicated. There's a lot of inputs and a lot of discussion still to take place. But basically what it will do is give the best of the Pacific companies opportunities to export overseas and move into other markets. It also provides for the free interchange of labour both ways. So in other words, job opportunities for Pacific Islanders going to the larger countries and bringing in more expertise into the smaller Pacific countries to help productivity.
Fiji views regional integration as a key stepping stone towards fuller participation in the increasingly liberalized global economy. As an island country with a small market, regional integration plays a vital role in creating a larger trade and investment market for Fiji.
The private sector is integral to this. The private sector, as everyone says, it is the engine of growth. And without the private sector's participation, these things won't happen. And as the Pacific Islands move away from having more activity at government level to more activity at the private level, then the obvious thing is that we now need to improve our trade relationships.
Some of the trade agreements to which Fiji is a member include the Melanesian Spearhead Group Trade Agreement, the Pacific Island Countries Trade Agreement, PICTA, Interim Economic Partnership Agreement with the European Union, and the South Pacific Regional Trade and Economic Cooperation Agreements, PATICA, with Australia and New Zealand. Stay with us. Post Fiji explains why there are limits to money orders in the rural areas, and Small Claims Tribunal to hold meeting in Singatoka this Friday.